People who survived the impossible. Paul Rosalie, eaten alive by an anaconda. The Discovery Channel was ridiculed last year for airing a special about anacondas featuring filmmaker Paul Rosalie wearing a snake suit and voluntarily being swallowed by an anaconda. He slathered himself in pig's blood, drew the attention of the massive snake, and was immediately coiled in its grip. Rosalie had panicked after he felt his arm breaking and requested for the crew to detach himself from the huge anaconda. Only part of his head went through the snake's mouth, but had his stunt gone further, Paul may not have survived. Lindy Harding, skydiving with a faulty parachute. This 27-year-old was eager to try skydiving during her trip to California with friends. But after leaping out of the plane at a heart-stopping height of 8,500 feet, Lindy's parachute had become tangled in the reserve. Lindy continued to fall for 40 seconds and at 70 miles per hour until she finally struck the ground. Miraculously, she only sustained 2 fractured ribs, a punctured lung, a cracked nose, and a chipped tooth. It's reported that doctors blame her survival on the fact that she passed out before hitting the ground since her body was relaxed. Holly Dunn, the only surviving victim. Angel Resendez was a man who had already killed 6 people and would continue to kill even more. Holly Dunn and her boyfriend Chris Mayer were far away from a party and wound up chatting near some train tracks. Resendez approached and threatened them with an ice pick, then tied the 2 of them up only to kill Chris Mayer with a 50-pound rock to the head. Holly Dunn was assaulted in all ways imaginable, but in the end managed to survive rape, an ice pick to the neck, shattered eye socket, and a broken jaw. Holly Dunn was the only survivor amongst the 15 people Resendez murdered over the span of 15 years. Ken Henderson, stranded at sea. 2 best friends, Ken Henderson and Ed Cohen, embarked on a fishing trip in the Gulf of Mexico, when without any known cause, the 30-foot-long boat was sinking very fast. There was no time to call for help over radio, nor could they prevent the boat's systems from failing. Before they knew it, the boat had sunk and they were both stranded for 30 hours in the ice-cold Gulf. Henderson made a last-minute effort to swim towards an oil rig. After 50 miles of swimming, Henderson made it and could call his wife. Unfortunately, Cohen's lifeless body was discovered a short time later. Truman Duncan, cut in half by a train. This railroad switchman had tumbled off the front of a moving train car and was dragged underneath the train. His body was basically sliced clean in half. He was separated from both legs and a kidney. However, he managed to call 911 on his cell phone and hold out for the 45-minute wait and survived the 23 surgeries that followed after the accident. Paul Templar, mauled by a hippo. A retired militant of the British Army retired back to his homeland of Zimbabwe to become a river guide. Well, one guide in 1995 ended tragically, as the group was suddenly under attack by a bull hippo. After Templar's partner guide was thrown into the river, he jumped in to try to save him, but ended up headfirst inside the hippo's giant mouth. Its giant, bone-crushing teeth speared through his armpits, ruptured through his back, ripped his foot, severed his arm, broke ribs, and tore holes all through his torso. After a 7-hour operation, Templar survived the brutal hippo attack. Aaron Ralston, cutting your own hand off. The famous story about a hiker who did a solo journey through a Utah canyon ended up trapped in a corridor through the canyon with an 800-pound boulder crushing his arm up against the stone wall. 5 days progressed, and the rations and water were depleted. Using the boulder for leverage, he was able to snap the bone in his wrist, and then with a very dull survival knife, managed to slice through muscle tendon. The experience of trying to rappel down a 65-foot wall was as far as he could go before he was finally found and rescued by fellow hikers.